Hey everybody, and welcome to Leipzig, Germany. Leipzig is the second most populous city in the area of the former East Germany after only Berlin. As of the year 2021, the city's population was roughly 1 million inhabitants. Recently, Leipzig was named Germany's most livable city. Events in Leipzig in 1989 played a significant role in precipitating the fall of communism in Central and Eastern Europe. The city is located about 160 kilometers southwest of Berlin, in the southernmost part of the North German plain at the confluence of the White Elster River. So let's move from one mode of transportation to another. Next up on the Brewshow. Yeah, out on the water in Leipzig, Germany. This is the aforementioned White Elster River, and it's 257 kilometers long. The river's source is the westernmost part of the Czech Republic. After a few kilometers, it flows into eastern Germany, where it cuts through the state of Saxony and directly through the center of Leipzig. So now that we're floating comfortably, let's talk about classical music. Leipzig has long been a major center for classical music. The St. Thomas Choir of Leipzig was founded in 1212. The Leipzig Gewandhaus Orchestra was established in 1743 and is one of the oldest symphony orchestras in the world. Johann Sebastian Bach and Felix Mendelssohn are two of the several well-known composers who lived and worked in Leipzig. The Mendelssohn University of Music and Theater was founded in 1843. The Leipzig Opera, one of the most prominent opera houses in Germany, was founded in 1868. Yeah, that's some cool stuff. Thanks very much to Danny for taking me out kayaking on the White Elster River. Now, next up on the Brewshow, let's take a coffee and cake break. Welcome to the Café Candler. The cafe is the home to the Leipziger Bachtaler. The delicious Bachtaler was created in the year 2000 by patissier René Candler. The delicacy marks the 250th anniversary of the death of Johann Sebastian Bach. It's a confection made of chocolate-coated ganache containing a coffee bean enclosed in hazelnut pastry. The statue of the composer Bach, sitting just outside his workplace, the St. Thomas Church. Look at that cake. Unbelievable. Fresh and delicious. Café Candler is a great example of a German Konditorei, or a cafe specializing in freshly baked goods. Come in, sit down, and enjoy. Café Candler with its delicious Bachtaler. Now let's change gears and visit a local distillery next up on the Brewshow. Yeah, it's a Leipzig distillery. And our new friend Matthias is going to tell us something about the local specialty, Leipziger Allasch. The process of distillation begins with heating a liquid to the boiling point. The liquid evaporates, forming a vapor. The vapor is then cooled by passing it through pipes at a lower temperature. The cooled vapor then condenses, forming a distillate. The distillate is a purified form of the original liquid. Now here's Matthias to tell us more.
Ich bin Matthias Richter, bin Destillateur bei der Firma Wilhelm Horn Markenspirituosen in Leipzig. Und wir produzieren heute das Destillat für den Leipziger Allasch. Das ist ein Kümmeldestillat aus einem eingeweichten Kümmelkorn. Wir haben hier ein Mazerat aus Kümmel, was 24 Stunden in Alkohol eingeweicht worden ist. Und damit befindet jetzt die Destillierblase.
Here we see Matthias getting the caraway mash into the still for boiling. The drink was invented in 1823 in its namesake village, Allasch, in Latvia, then a part of the Russian Empire. In 1830, Allasch was exhibited at the Leipzig Trade Fair and quickly gained popularity. Wilhelm Horn Manufacturing took over from there, perfecting the recipe and turning the drink into a true Leipzig specialty. Now Matthias is ready for the boil, closing the still tight. There's your boiling point, and the vapors are rising, flowing through the system, being cooled, condensing, and turning back into liquid. When the liquid evaporates, many impurities are left behind, so they are not present in the final distillate. Here's the final distillate, running fresh and pure. Now it's time for a Matthias taste test.
Nachdem der Vorlauf abgetrennt ist, läuft jetzt hier der Mittellauf. Das ist ein reines, feines Kümmeldestillat, was ein wirklich intensives Kümmelaroma hat.
Allasch is a sweet, colorless, caraway-flavored liqueur at 38% ABV. It's flavored with bitter almonds, anise, angelica root, and orange peel. Usually enjoyed as a digestif, the Leipziger Allasch is renowned for steadying the nerves and calming the stomach. So when in Leipzig, try the caraway-flavored specialty. You'll find a sweet reward. Hey, now it's pastry time. Next up on the Brewshow.
Zwei Stück, 5 Euro, danke. Ebenfalls. Hallo, ich bin Jürgen Kleinert von der Bäckerei Kleinert. Ich möchte euch zeigen, wie wir die Leipziger Lerche herstellen. Die gebackene Leipziger Lerche ist eine regionale Leipziger Spezialität, die für die sächsischen Bäcker geschützt ist.
Okay, let's get cooking. The chef starts with the pastry forms. Here's the fresh dough, a dusting of flour. The dough's got to be rolled out and passed through the pastry press. Now we have the desired thickness.
Wir legen den Teig über die vorbereiteten Formen und jetzt drücken wir den Mürbeteig in die Backform.
Okay, here's the story. The name originates from the coveted delicacy popular in the Leipzig area until the 1870s. The dish used the actual songbird, the lark, in German Lerche, which was roasted with herbs and eggs and served as a filling in a pastry crust. This is the cherry filling, 60% fruit, 40% juice. It represents the heart of the lark. Hunting of the songbirds was officially banned by the Saxonian king Albert I in 1876. Today's pastry replaced the traditional meat-filled pastry after the ban. The chef now uses marzipan to replace the eggs and herbs.
Erst wird die Marmeladenfüllung, die Konfitürenfüllung im Kreis gedreht und dann wird die Form ordentlich befüllt. Wir haben eine aufwendige Herstellung der Lerche, aber wir werden die heute und auch in Zukunft weiter in Handarbeit herstellen. Wir haben im Moment in sehr guten Produktionstagen. Ich habe jetzt Mürbeteig in der Kühlung schon vorbereitet, weil sich das besser herstellen lässt. Wir schneiden jetzt Streifen, die wir dann auf unsere vorbereiteten Lerchen auflegen.
Now the chef uses the cut dough strips as decoration, laying them on top of the pastries in the form of a cross. This represents the final touches before baking.
So, die Lerchen sind jetzt bereit zum Backen. Wir werden sie jetzt in den Backofen schieben bei 200 Grad, circa 20 Minuten. Die Zeit ist vorüber, die Lerchen müssten fertig sein. Wir können sie wieder aus dem Ofen herausholen. Und wir haben wunderbar goldgelb gebackene Leipziger Originallerchen. Die Lerchen sind jetzt ausgekühlt und wir können sie verpacken, damit unsere Kunden die Lerchen mit nach Hause nehmen können. Wir haben eine Zellglastüte. Wo die Lerche eingesetzt wird, die Story, das Verschließen und auf der Rückseite steht die Story nochmal hier in Deutsch. Wir haben das selbstverständlich auch in Englisch, Französisch, Spanisch, Japanisch.
Now the Leipziger Original Lerche are ready for sale in the front of house. What a fantastic story. In addition to the Kleinert bakery here, there's also a branded Kleinert cafe in the city center, serving the fresh pastries of the day.
Hallo, was möchtest du bitte?
Yeah, that's fresh and delicious. Speaking of which, I think it's time we had ourselves a beer. Next up on the Brewshow. Not too far from the bakery is the brewery. Yeah, let's have a taste of some sour beer.
Guten Morgen, ich bin Jens Kröger, ich bin Inhaber der Gosenschränke ohne Bedenken in Leipzig in Deutschland und ich bin auch der Brauer der Edelgose und heute wird Edelgose hergestellt.
So let's get brewing. First things first, get the malt into the malt mill and crack that grain open. Next step, get the milled grain into the mash tun. The brewmaster uses a combination, 1/3 Pilsner malt, 2/3 wheat malt. Bring the mash tun loaded with the fresh malt to a boil. After the boil comes the transfer to the lauter tun. The lauter tun has a false bottom which will remove the liquid from the solids. So the spent grain remains behind along with any unwanted proteins. Now we have the wort, and it's transferred to the brew kettle. Here, the hops and the other ingredients will be added.
Unser Malz kommt von Rhönmalz aus Meerestadt. Unser Hopfen ist Cascade-Hopfen, kommt aus der Hallertau in Bayern. Und ansonsten haben wir natürlich noch Koriander, Kochsalz drin. Das Besondere an der Gose, nicht entsprechend dem deutschen Reinheitsgebot, ist Koriander, Kochsalz, Milchsäure. Aber die Gose ist über 1000 Jahre alt, als es noch gar kein Reinheitsgebot gab. Weder das bayerische noch das deutsche und deswegen ist Gose als Spezialität erlaubt.
That's a lot of work, and now it's time for happy hour. Hey everybody, and welcome to the Brewshow. Today we're in Leipzig, Germany at the Edelgose Brauerei. We have a new friend, his name is Jens, and we're going to talk about a really interesting beer. It's called Gose, and it's a sour beer. So Jens, welcome to the show.
Hallo, herzlich willkommen in der Gose Brauerei in Leipzig.
Can you please tell us something about the beer, this interesting sour beer?
Ja, es ist ein saures Bier, ein obergäriges Weißbier. Das Besondere ist Koriander, Kochsalz, Milchsäure. Die Milchsäure macht die Gose etwas säuerlich. Koriander macht sie sehr leicht bitter, aber sehr lecker. Und Salz gehört einfach dazu, weil ursprünglich kommt die Gose aus Goslar. Und in Goslar hat man das Flüsschen Gose gehabt, was etwas salzhaltiger ist durch den Kalibergbau. Und deswegen muss man es im Original eigentlich mit dazu machen.
That sounds really interesting, so let's give it a try. That's really good, delicious. And this is a special beer from Leipzig. It's made and born in Leipzig, so really, really interesting. A bit sour, but not too sour at all.
Nicht so sehr sauer, am Anfang etwas, im Abgang etwas süßlicher, so ein bisschen malzig und ein bisschen schmeckt auch die Koriandernote nach.
Yeah, very, very nice, very nice. Cheers, Prost. Thanks to Jens for the nice beer invitation. Yeah, now we have the perfect predisposition for some art. Welcome to the Leipzig Museum of Fine Arts. The original building of this museum was opened in 1848. After a fine history, then came the 20th century. In 1937, the Nazis confiscated 394 paintings and prints, mainly of Expressionism, in the propaganda campaign known as degenerate art. Then came the Second World War. During the night of December 4th, 1943, the building was completely destroyed by a British air raid. Fortunately, much of the inventory had previously been brought to safety. Then, on December 4th, 2004, exactly 61 years after the destruction of the original building, the new museum opened on the former Saxony Square. The rectangular museum building cost 74.5 million euros to construct. The artwork in this museum was housed in temporary venues for 61 years. This art cube is the first large new museum to have been built in eastern Germany since 1945. Museum highlights include a large collection of Flemish and Dutch genre paintings, the German Romantics, the Max Beckmann Hall, and a presentation of works by Max Klinger. Artists from the former GDR, or German Democratic Republic, as East Germany was known, was actually not very democratic. These artists are represented with more than 500 pieces of work. Besides the Berlin, Dresden, and Halle styles, the local Leipzig school of painting with its broad spectrum of themes and styles is at the heart of the building. The NDBK is a stunning building right in the center of town, so check it out. Now, I'm thirsty again, so let's go have ourselves another beer. Next up on the Brewshow. Back in the city center, it's clear to see Leipzig is truly a beautiful city. This fact brings me back to another brewery. Yes, Sternberg Export, known as Sterni, is a real thirst quencher. Ah yes, thirst quenched. This is the Sudhaus, in English, the brew house. Here you'll find the mash tun, the brew kettle, and the lauter tun. They're producing 1.1 million hectoliters of beer every year. Sterniversum is a fun brewery to visit, and they have a festival for their fans every year. All right, everybody, let's take a look around. Yes, thirst quenched. Back in the Leipzig city center, this is the Leipzig Opera House. It's seen many changes and much music since its opening in 1693. Not far from the opera, we're back at the brewery. And the business of beer is always in motion. Long brewery history here, beginning all the way back in 1278. In 1822, Maximilian Speck von Sternburg bought the whole place and gave the beer its name. In 1948, ownership of the brewery was made public under the government of the newly formed state of East Germany. I guess those guys were thirsty too. In 1968, the brewery was absorbed into the state-run drink management organization in Leipzig. After German reunification in 1990, the brewery once again regained its freedom. And here we are today, 1.1 million hectoliters of beer every year. Thirst quenched. Back in the city center, Leipzig is a visitor-friendly town I highly recommend. I also recommend one more beer for the road. Thanks very much to my new friends at the Sternburg Brewery. So when in Leipzig, look for the beer with the white star on top. I heard it's the word on the street.
Well, that's our look at Leipzig, Germany, with its beautiful city center, wonderful river, the White Elster, amazing pastries, and of course, awesome beer. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next time on the Brew Show. Cheers. That is delicious.